Hello, sweethearts. Santi Nancy. Come sit with me, grab your tea, get comfortable. I've got a story from my own home that still makes my heart catch when I think about it. It was one of those ordinary afternoons where time seems to slow. The house had been quiet all day, the kind of quiet that wraps around you after years of living mostly alone with memories. I was in the bathroom, steam curling up from the hot shower, towel wrapped snug, just letting the warm water ease the day away. My mind wandered. Nothing deep, just everyday thoughts like what to make for supper or if the laundry needed folding. Then came the knock. Not loud or urgent. Soft, careful, like someone didn't want to startle me. Mom. Ethan's voice. My boy. I froze for a second. I hadn't heard the front door open, hadn't noticed his sneakers on the stairs or the jingle of his keys. His tone carried something heavier than a simple hello. Concern, maybe wrapped in hesitation. I called back, "I'll be right out, honey," and hurried to finish dressing. When I stepped into the hallway, there he was, taller than I sometimes remember, shoulders filling the space like his daddy's used to. In his hands was our old family photo album, the one with the soft leather cover gone dull from years, edges frayed like they'd been loved too much. His eyes met mine, unsure, like he'd crossed an invisible line and wasn't certain he should have. "Found this while I was cleaning out the garage," he said, voice low. "Thought you might want to look through it." I took it from him. Our fingers touched briefly. He gave a small nod, then turned and walked down the hall to his room. The door closed with that quiet click he always uses these days. I carried the album to the living room couch and sat down slowly. Opened the first page. There we were, frozen in happier times. His dad's arm around my waist at the lake. Both of us laughing at some forgotten joke. Birthday parties with too many candles and messy frosting. Ethan as a little boy, gap-toothed grin, holding a fish he'd caught. The memories rushed in, sweet at first, then sharp. Love that had slipped away. Time that refused to pause. Sitting there alone with those pages, I felt a deep ache rise. Not just for what was lost, but for how long it had been since anyone checked on me. Not as the mother who keeps everything running, but as a woman who sometimes feels fragile inside. That night the rain started, soft taps against the bedroom window like gentle fingers. I lay in the dark, replaying that knock over and over. It wasn't dramatic, but it was honest. And I began to see that both Ethan and I had been waiting, living so close, yet holding our worries separate, afraid to reach out first. That one small sound had started something. A crack in the quiet walls we'd built without meaning to. The days following that knock passed on the calendar, but they felt slow and weighted, like an unspoken truth trailed us through every doorway and hallway. Ethan's changes were subtle at first, but they cut. He began leaving early, footsteps hurrying across the kitchen floor. Morning, Mom, clipped and brief. His bedroom door stayed closed most of the time, not slammed, just quietly shut against the world. He wasn't angry. He was thinking, carrying something heavy he didn't know how to share. I filled my hours the way I always had. Heading to work, folding laundry into neat stacks, preparing suppers with care. But too often the plates sat cooling on the table, barely touched. He'd eat quickly or not at all, lost in his own head. Evenings became my quiet ritual. I'd take a mug of tea to the front porch, settle into the swing and watch the neighborhood settle for the night. Streetlights flickering on one by one, cars pulling into driveways, windows glowing warm. Memories would drift in without warning. How this house used to fill with voices, laughter spilling from room to room, his dad's deep chuckle when Ethan told a silly story. How safe everything felt back then. Loneliness doesn't burst in like a storm. It seeps in gradually, filling the small empty spaces until they grow too wide to bridge. I knew he watched me just as closely. He noticed how I lingered at the sink, staring at nothing. How I held an old coffee mug a moment longer, as if it still remembered his dad's hands around it. He felt the responsibility now, the need to be strong for me, but words about loss and fear didn't come easy for him. One evening I sat with the album again. Flipped to a page where I was laughing freely, head back, eyes crinkled, truly happy. Seeing that woman stirred pain and a flicker of hope. How long since I'd felt seen like that? My friends are kind, but they don't share these silent evenings when thoughts grow loud. I heard his footsteps pause outside my bedroom door one night. He stood there listening, perhaps hoping I'd call out. But the silence held. He turned away. We were right there, under the same roof, yet worlds apart. After another supper passed in near total quiet, I knew I couldn't let the distance harden. Love that stays locked inside can fade away forever. I turned off the kitchen lights, heart firm. Tomorrow, no matter how scary, I would speak the truth. I waited for an evening when the sky darkened early and the house felt calm, almost expectant. "Ethan, sweetheart, come sit with me in the living room for a bit." He didn't hesitate. He followed me in and we took the two armchairs facing each other across the small space. At first the gap between us felt enormous, filled with years of things left unsaid. I started gently. "Are you okay, honey? Really okay?" He drew a slow breath, hands resting together in his lap. "I worry about you, Mom. You've gotten so quiet lately. You carry everything without ever saying it's hard." Those words settled soft on my heart. I hadn't realized how much he noticed, how clearly he saw the weight I tried to hide. I let out my own breath. "I'm learning how to live again after losing your dad. Grief doesn't just disappear. It changes shape. Sometimes staying silent feels easier than trying to put the hurt into words." He nodded slowly. "That day I knocked on the bathroom door. I just wanted to check on you. I didn't know any other way to start." Hearing that made everything fall into place. We'd both been standing at the same invisible door, wanting to reach across but afraid of causing more pain. After that first honest exchange, the rest came easier. I told him how much I missed simple companionship. Someone to share a quiet evening with, someone who knew the private parts of my days. He admitted his deepest fear. Not losing me physically but watching me slip further into sadness while still living right here at home. The room warmed as the truth settled between us. It didn't feel heavy anymore. Felt like release, like finally breathing deeply after holding air too long. When the words ran out, the silence that followed was kind, comforting, shared. Later that night, I picked up my phone and saw a message from Daniel, an old friend I'd recently reconnected with. Just a simple, "How's your week going?" But it brought a real smile, a small spark of warmth I hadn't expected. Ethan headed out to meet friends, looking lighter, shoulders relaxed. I watched him go and knew that one knock had opened the path to real honesty. Caring doesn't always need perfect phrases. Sometimes it's just a quiet check-in that changes the whole direction. Weeks slipped past and the house began to feel alive in ways it hadn't for years. Ethan moved through the rooms with lighter steps. He smiled at my little jokes, the silly ones I used to make when he was small. His bedroom door stayed open more often. He chose the couch cushion closer to mine without thinking twice. Laughter returned in soft bursts, nothing forced, just natural, like it had been waiting patiently to come back. I felt the change in myself too, a gentle warmth spreading inside, the kind I'd forgotten was possible. That first knock hadn't only interrupted a quiet moment in the bathroom. It had created space for us to rediscover each other, to heal without words always needing to be spoken. We started sharing meals more regularly. Conversations stretched longer. About his day, my work, small things that mattered. The table felt fuller even when the plates weren't heaped high. Then one rainy evening, as I stood at the stove stirring supper, another knock came, this time at the front door. I wiped my hands on the dish towel and opened it. Daniel stood on the porch holding a small bouquet of flowers. Nothing extravagant, just thoughtful. His eyes were kind, a touch nervous, like someone hoping for a second chance at connection. My heart fluttered. The soft, surprised kind I thought belonged only to younger years. Ethan appeared at the top of the stairs. He saw Daniel, saw the flowers, saw the way my face softened. A quiet, knowing smile crossed his lips. No need for explanation. He understood this was part of my slow healing, a step toward joy I deserved after carrying so much alone. Daniel came inside. We sat at the kitchen table and talked, easy, warm, familiar stories flowing like they'd never stopped. Ethan lingered in the hallway for a moment, watching quietly, seeing my face light with genuine smiles and soft laughter. Later, after Daniel left, I sat alone with the flowers in a simple vase on the table. I traced the chain of events in my mind, that surprising knock in the steamy bathroom, the heavy quiet days that followed, the honest conversation that broke the distance, the closeness returning with my son, and now this gentle new possibility opening before me. Love doesn't have to choose one form. It can hold memories of the past while welcoming fresh hope, respecting what was while making room for what might be. Rain continued falling that night, a soft, steady rhythm against the roof, like the house itself was breathing easier. I let my thoughts wander to evenings still ahead, sharing stories over tea, laughter filling the rooms again, Perhaps the steady, kind presence of someone who could become more than a friend. The idea didn't feel scary anymore. It felt like possibility. When I thought about Ethan, his quiet strength, the way he'd watched over me without ever crowding, how he'd given me space to heal while staying close, pride filled me warm and deep. We had moved from careful distance to true understanding without a single harsh word or lasting scar. That kind of gentle crossing felt rare and precious. The house no longer carried that old emptiness. It held care now, attention, small gestures, the quiet promise of new beginnings. Beginnings that honor everything that came before while staying open to whatever good things life wants to bring next. That first knock was never loud or showy. It was simple. But it became the turning point. The small, honest moment that reminded me love often arrives quietly without fanfare. When we choose to open the door, even just a crack, life begins to shift in the softest, most hopeful ways. Walls come down. Hearts reconnect. And healing finds its way in. If this story touched something in your heart, sweethearts, leave a little like or share it with someone who might need to hear it. Someone carrying their own quiet ache, wondering if anyone still sees them. We're all just trying to find our way back to each other. One small knock, one honest word, one open door at a time. I love you bunches. Sleep peaceful tonight. Auntie Nancy will be right here whenever you need a listening ear. 2 hearts.